What you're about to experience are my opinions and truths. I'm suggesting they're possibilities for you to consider, in which you can then come up with your own logical conclusions. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow decoders around the world, wherever you may be, both male and female, my name is Logan, and this, of course, is Decode Your Reality. And today we're going to be breaking down and decoding some more light. The title of this decode is Ride the Lightning. Big shout out to the band Metallica I have playing in the background. Maybe it is or is not still playing, but the beginning of this was the instrumental version of Ride the Lightning off of the album, self-titled album, Ride the Lightning by Metallica. 1984, I was just 11 years old when this came out. I was a little metalhead growing up as a kid. Once I left my religious state and all the dogma behind, I played catch up and I really got into heavy metal, and this album was amazing. But big shout out to the band Metallica, man. They've been such great artists in the music industry. And this is kind of an inspiration from them as well. I'm going to show you how they fit right into this. But I really wanted to kind of give a big shout out to this person right here. He's one of my friends off of Facebook. Never met him in person, but he's a very smart, intelligent guy. He goes by Gemini Nasri Banura. I hope I didn't butcher that name if he's watching. But a big shout out to him because, see, I get inspired by people like you, fellow decoders, that are constantly breaking down how this reality works. And he goes by a lot of physics and, electromagnetism and, stuff like that. And I was really inspired by this, and I saw one thing and I decoded it, and that was all I needed to see. And I'm going to talk about the one slide that really got me going with this that I shared, and I commented on his post here. But it's all about this picture right here. And of course, he's turned it to the side 90 degrees, but you should know what this is right here. But it's talking about light. Right? Light is a longitudinally traveling dielectric pulse. It puts out a pulse, okay? And then the straight rod right here in the middle is going to be that pulse, which you got the dollar bill sign in here, and that's why it has the rod in the middle of it. And there's so many different symbols and shapes. But then you have these two serpents, which is the the transverse electromagnetic wave that follows that pulse. And then you're going to get into the yin-yang. And then there you have your duality. Okay, we live in an electromagnetic world. So a big shout out to him. He got me started on this and this scripture and theology. And again, you can bring theology into this, but we get into physics, and physics, gets into science, and, science and religion are just one and the same, if you ask me. But really where it's at is electromagnetism. That's what our reality is made up of. So here are the topics for this presentation. Number one, for Ride the Light, we have pulse. Number two, Ride the Lightning, 2-syllable word. Number three, the Tower. And then number four, Let There Be Light. And if you haven't seen my, Speed of Light Decoded, part 1 and part 2, please check it out. I also decoded Let There Be Light, one of my older decodes. But let's get into the first topic of this presentation, folks. Get yourself strapped in. This one's going to be a lot of fun. I promise you. You will have a lot of gem drops in this one. This one was really fun to decode. So this first topic, pulse. And this was the actual slide that I created for Gemini Nasri Banura on my Facebook, which I commented on his post, because this is what I saw. Once he said it's the dielectric pulse, which, light, he's talking about light. And we can get into photon and all that kind of stuff, but light is the dielectric pulse, right? Let there be light. And this is what set me off. And this was all I needed. And then you bring in the tarot and you can see how valuable the tarot is. Dielectric pulse is 56. And once you have the pulse, you instantly now have the movie. We're inside of a movie, folks. And it needs we need light for this movie, both artificial and natural. Okay? Because at nighttime, you don't have the sun. The moon ain't going to illuminate very much, especially when it's not a full moon. But here is kind of, off of his Gemini's post, what he said. And this said, the dielectric pulse is the spirit of God. That's right, it is. It's light is the spirit which moves into man. And it says in Genesis 1 verses 2, it moved upon the face of the waters, the electromagnetic field. And the water, what do you think we're made up of? The body's made up of primarily water. And we get into electromagnetism. And look at this. The 56 card in the tarot is this card, the 6 of Swords, 6 being the first perfect number, 6 being tied to carbon, 6 being tied to Virgo, the Virgin. And look at what it's transversing over, water. It's got the 6 swords. Swords represent the water. This is in the tarot, in the cards of illumination, it's going to represent the physical body. But there's the water right there. And this is right off Genesis 1 verses 2. From this dielectric pulse and the movie that we're in, folks, right there. I thought this was super interesting, how valuable the tarot cards are. And this is light moving across the water. It says right here, moved upon the face of the waters. Well, there it is. Spirit going across the water into the body, becoming carbon. And we get into the spirit, into matter, and I'm going to get into that. But it breaks down into barium and how valuable alchemy is into all of this when you decode. 56 being this element, barium having an average weight of 137. If you're a decoder, you should know 137, how big of a number that is in mathematics. It's the 33rd prime number. It's tied to the fine structure constant. And I'm absolutely convinced it's tied to time travel. It's tied to time travel, which we're all doing. But can we travel through time doing the science fiction kind of time travel? I think it already exists. But you see, when you do the numerology of barium, it becomes the number 16. And just like that, you go and do the breakdown of Genesis 1 verses 2 from the original spelling of it now, because it's going to change if we use Chaldean. But if we use the Hebrew where it came from, here's Genesis, it's 13, broken all the way down to the single digits, and then 1 and 2, it's the 16. And there it is, folks. It's right there in plain sight. And then, bam, we have light. Light moving across the water, moving across the body, spirit moving into man, moving into woman. And, I want to just digress and talk about this barium because, you see, it's light going down into the whole. When you look at the periodic table, there's so many clues here. But here is this element barium. And what this means is going down into the game of life, playing the game of life, going down into the belly of the beast. Barium is light, the pulse going down into the whole. And all you got to do is click on the uses and properties. Look what it says. The image is for patients who have been given a barium meal. It involves the human stomach. Now when you do a fractal above and we're talking about the cosmos, we're in the belly of the beast. Light gets swallowed and it goes down into the hole. And it gets this pulse. This pulse right here. That's exactly what this means here with this barium. And it's light going down into the hole. And light being the spirit of God. Genesis 6 verses 3, it says, my spirit will enter into the human being vessel. It won't be there forever though. That's because your spirit's owned. You don't own it. You're renting your body. You're on borrowed time. But this is just really kind of what started it all off. And then we get into this. This is a big one. I've shown this in other decodes. This is what happens. This is the Spirit of God coming down to play the game of life, and it can do it whenever it wants. I mean, if you made the game of life, wouldn't you come down here and play it? Every single one of you would say, yes, I would. Of course you would want to experience your own game. So what makes you think that whatever created this reality doesn't come down here whenever it wants and becomes man or woman? Does it all the time, I believe. And if it's not coming down here, it's controlling you remotely, micromanaging this reality. But spirit into matter, 56. And there, just like that, we get into these three words that match the same exact outcome. Spirit is the sun, which is the plasma, which is the lightning bolt, and it's tied to the soul. This is what you got. Soul entering into matter. So spirit goes into life, and then life becomes carbon-based. It becomes matter. You see? It's very easy to see this. All in the Chaldean, the oldest numerology cipher in existence. Soul, life, carbon, spirit into matter. And now you're playing out duality. Duality equals 20. By the way, Jesuit equals 20. Mason equals 20. You think those people get a hall pass? No. They're being used just like you and I are being used. We all get a bag of bones here. So we have this soul life. We have spirit coming down and becoming the breath of life. And we enter into carbon, the 666, carbon being 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons. And we become the beast, the so below beast. But you have the sun as the spirit, as the soul, coming down and becoming the star in the movie, the fallen angel. And then you get what the tarot says. I don't know how you get judged in a predestined script, but you get this judgment. And this card, if you know what it means, it's just, you can't say, well, it's just, you're going to get judged. I mean, has so many meanings to it. But the carbon being 20, spirit slowed down into physical matter, ride the light. Okay, you become carbon-based. Carbon is that, I mean, it's even Jesus, because 6 and 12 is 18. Jesus and Christ equal to 18 in numerology. So we become the 666 devil below, and then the straight up 20th element on the periodic table is calcium, and 99% of the calcium in our bodies is in our bones and teeth. And there it is. And calcium has an average of 40, and 40 is death and regeneration. And at the very end of this, you're going to see what that's going to lead to. All right, because it's mind control, ladies and gentlemen. You're being mind controlled. So let's get into the next topic now, called Ride the Lightning. Ride the Lightning. Lightning's a 2-syllable word. And here it is broken up. And this is so beautiful, how you can orchestrate this with the tarot, because we think in pictures. So we get out of the numbering aspects through numerology. We get that connection, but then we can really get some value with this tarot, and just how amazing the tarot is here, and how it combines into Chaldean numerology. Chaldean's so heavily tied into the Aramaic/Hebrew language as well. But here is spirit coming down and playing out the game of life. It's lightning. What is lightning? Plasma, 1.21 gigawatts, Back to the Future. But here's light. I mean, there's the lightning bolt right on the damn tower card. It's right there. You can't miss it. And this would represent the Big Bang as well. You know, I mean, that's how this world gets created, through light. And then you have to add the ning onto it, lightning. And then you get the 14, and there's the beautiful temperance card, which means balance. And there's those 2 chalices going in between these. This represents the yin yang, and here it is right there. It's the electromagnetic wave following the pulse. This is the pulse. This is the electromagnetic wave following it, and there's the 2 serpents. And there's the 2 serpents of the 2 goblets. So if you pull this card, if you're a tarot card reader and you pull this card, you're automatically going to say, if you know the card, well, it means balance. Yeah, but now you know it's tied to the electromagnetic wave of light, the pulse of light. And you see the foot in the water. Remember the scripture in Genesis, that the spirit moves over the body of water. There it is right there, dipping the toes, the electromagnetic wave running over the water. And we become the water ourselves through the body. Our body's made up of primarily water. This is such a beautiful representation of how this reality works. It's so amazing right there, just with that right there. So getting back to Metallica, right? The band. Are they trying to screw you over and mock you, and the producers and all that stuff? I mean, do you think that's what the case? If you go to the album itself, Ride the Lightning, it was produced by this guy right here, Flemming Rasmussen. Notice he was born on January 1st. You know what card this is? The King of Spades, the King of the Earth. This guy's got some pretty big names, and here he is. Here's the guy right here. Like, do you think he's trying to screw you over and mock you and do some kind of voodoo witchcraft on you? I mean, you can go watch it. I mean, I'm not saying that there isn't any of that stuff going on in music, but ladies and gentlemen, I've shown so many breakdowns of music and bands. I mean, every one of them would have to be in on the conspiracy to try to pork you over and screw you over. I mean, come on, where do we draw the line here? You can see, I'm going to show you how crazily scripted this album was right there, Ride the Lightning 56, and that's the movie. So once you ride the lightning, you become part of the movie. You become spirit into matter. That's what this means. And now you're being used by the supernatural. That's just the way it is. Do we have some free will? Well, of course, I think there's some free will there, but if you get off course, you're going to get pushed right back on course. Anyway, the release date of this album, July 27, more clues. July 27 tied to the word heaven, plasma coming from the heavenly realms, if you will, the ether. But this July 27th, when this album came out, it came out on the 208th, 209th day of the year. It left 157 days remaining until the end of the year. And here comes the comedy, because now you get into the Truman Show. Now you get into being on television. You go right to this element right here, 64 possible codons in our DNA, 64 squares on a chessboard. We get into duality. So this album gets released on July 27th, leaving 157 days left in the year, and bam, there it is. It's this element, gadolinium. Gadolinium is the GD element, folks. Think about the GD. In Judaism, a lot of them do G-D. They leave out the O. It's right there. It's the GD coming down and played in the game of life, just like you would if you created it. And you ride the lightning, spirit coming down into physical matter, right there. And then you get into the actual day of the year when this album came out, and then you get into this element, bismuth. Big time important element right here. And look at the icon the Royal Society of Chemistry uses for this. What does that look like right there? Well, you go right back up here. It's the two serpents intertwining, making up that electromagnetic wave, having some kind of say-so in it right there. That's what I say it is. I mean, it's the number 8, obviously, but I mean, the two serpents right there. This means white mass. So many clues with this. And bismuth is so interesting because it is the most diamagnetic element. Diamagnetic element. Go study the word. This is taken right off of YouTube. I will leave a video in the description of this this presentation for all of you if you want to click on it. It's very cool. A lot of science experiments. This right here is made of bismuth. This is bismuth. And then this is obviously a square piece of metal, and then above, up here, there's a magnet, and the magnet pulls through the bismuth, and it suspends this cube in midair. And I feel like this is how Earth works. This is very similar to how Earth works, I feel, anyway. There's something to this that is how Earth works, because this is, if you go study the brain, ladies and gentlemen, you go study synapses, this is what it looks like. Synapses. You have electrical currents going through here, right? You got electrical currents going through there. Ride the lightning. It's tied to your brain, folks. It's tied to your brain. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do it on the fly here. I don't really do this that much, but let's check it out. I want to show you what it totally looks like. I mean, look at the picture of that right there. What does that look like? That's exactly, that's ride the lightning through the brain. Synapses are all about your brain and the function of your brain, folks. Right there. You can't miss it. And it's tied to bismuth. Right there. Look at the similarities. I mean, it's crazy how similar this is. So I know there's something to this here. And I mean, this album comes out on the 208th day of the year, tied to bismuth. Come on, it's the most diamagnetic element on the periodic table. And it's now you can see it's tied to your brain and the synapses in your brain, which makes you think. Ride the lightning. Now your spirit's inside of carbon base, which is matter. That's how all this stuff works. That's how beautifully orchestrated, how predestined the script is. So it comes down to this word lightning, as a total. Third, ride the lightning. Ride the lightning. Right, well, you know what that means now, but lightning is a 30. And so we're going to break this down. And we get into the tarot first. How beautiful this is. Look at the 30th card in the deck, using the Fool as 0 and 22. It's this 8 of Wands. I mean, look at the direction. This card, if you know what this means, it means quickly. If you get this card into reading it, if you combine it with something else, it means, hey, something's moving quick. Something's coming fast. What do you think moves fast? Lightning does. It's right there. And you can only connect it using the Chaldean. That's how valuable. That's why I say Chaldean to me is the top dog cipher there is in decoding, period. Hands down, bar none. You don't even need to use any other ciphers. If you're somebody who wants to connect more than just numbers with the tarot, well, just go right to Chaldean. But there it is, the 30, moving quickly, lightning. And this is tied to the 8 of clubs, which is tied to the simulation and the world card, okay? We get into the golden ratio. Now we're going to get into some more mathematics to bring more layers into this, to really get more of an extension of how this reality works. We're going to get into the golden ratio, nature. And we're going to go 30 digits in, counting the 1 point. Here it is, 1.61, all the way across. And look at the total we get. 157. Remember where that 157 was found? How about right there? Right there. The amount of days left until the end of the year when this album came out. And it's got Ride the Lightning. I mean, look at the connections to this. It's all right there. And the golden ratio and the tarot. So beautiful, this whole source code here. And then going further to get more extensions on what lightning is tied to, well, you get the New Age name, 1871, the Jehovah's Witness organization came out. Charles Taze Russell, 1871 is when that religion came out. Jehovah, Yahweh, Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh, it's all the same thing. But it's also tied to what the Gnostics call the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh, the demiurge. Demi meaning two. Because lightning is two. It's the electromagnetic wave. Electromagnetism is what is the prison planet. Keeps you here. Do we get out? Maybe. Can we get out? Maybe. Maybe not. But you continue to see these patterns. 30 is a very big deal number. Many of the calendar months we have is 30. If you start to look for this 30, you're going to start to see it's tied to zinc. Zinc is an essential element in the body. You need zinc for your immune system. To really kind of keep your immune system high. So going further with this right here, then we get into some, American fast food. If you're living in the Americas, in San Diego, California, the great city of San Diego, this restaurant opened up called Jack in the Box. And this is the comical humor. This is the whatever runs this reality. It goes by every single name you can possibly think of, and it contains them all. Well, it's having fun with us here. And so using the mind of man, I mean, the word placenta equals 30. What do you think a baby's connected to? The placenta. It's the mind of the baby. Even when you cut the cord, you're still connected through your brain. But anyway, 30th card in the deck is the 4 of diamonds. And I did a decode on Jack in the Box. So check this out, folks. The guy who founded Jack in the Box, Robert Oscar Peterson, he founded it on February 21st, and this is the card for February 21st. It's the 4 of diamonds. The diamond meaning the box, 4 meaning the cube, stuck in the box. It's lightning stuck in the box. Jack is riding the light down into this reality, and the 4 of diamonds turns into, through the tarot, the 4 of pentacles. And you can see we're in through the tarot, we are the pentacles, and this is the demiurge. This is God holding on to you, not wanting to let you go, keeping you stuck in the box. Is this really how it works? It's possible. I'm just theorizing here. Some of you think that you have a way out. That's totally fine. I would say, well, if you figured the way to get out of here, why aren't you leaving? But anyway, I don't think you get out till you die, and then do we ever get out? Who knows? There's no proof of any of that. But we just got to have fun with this reality now. But how about the length of the album, Ride the Lightning? 47 minutes and 25 seconds. Most of you should know 47-sided tetragrammaton. I'm going to show that. But check it out through alchemy. Look at what you get. You get the golden ratio. The length of the album means the golden ratio tied to the sun tied to plasma tied to lightning, etc., etc. Right there. And there's the 161 again. Right there from the golden ratio. So the golden ratio is 161. The 30 digits is 157, which ties to the Truman Show and the release date of this album. And then the length of it is through alchemy 161. I mean, what do you think the odds would be? And do you think that the producer and Metallica and the band members, do you think they're really sitting down, getting it exactly to this so it can come out to be things like this? Folks, that's really crazy thinking that they're doing that. They would be doing that, bringing all these layers into it. I think you can definitely become aware of some of them, but I mean, let's just keep going here. So the length of the album, 47 minutes and 25 seconds. It's silver and manganese. Silver being the most, think about this. Silver is the most electric element on the entire periodic table. Ride the lightning, electricity. And then you have the electromagnetic wave. Manganese comes from the word magnetic. And, silver comes from the Anglo-Saxon word right here, sulfur, and it's a 30, tied to lightning. And then 47 is the protons for silver, tetragrammaton. Come on, folks. It's pretty easy to see this stuff here, all this. The New Age name, the demiurge, Yaldabaoth, all the same stuff. Jesus, Lucifer, all the same stuff. So we're going to get into that now with this next topic called the Tower. And we're going to go right into the scripture, Genesis 1, verses 2, where it talks about God and the Spirit of God, the lightning bolt moving upon the face of the waters and the water becoming us, carbon-based. And it's this, think this is the tower. The lightning bolt's right there on the freaking card. The word light equals 16. It's just right there on the card. So this is the Big Bang, if you will. So there's merit to the Big Bang. It may not have happened exactly the way science will tell you, but there's the Big Bang right on the card. And this is let there be light, right before the premise or the precursor for let there be light, because then you got to move into Genesis 1 verses 3. But then we get into this right here, the mighty star Sirius. Now this really kind of brings another layer into this that's very exciting to talk about, and that's Sirius. And I've talked about Sirius in my Bloodline Decoded heavily. Heavily. And Allah, if you're somebody who studies the Quran, if you're, a fan of Islam, well, Allah is the Lord of Sirius. If you know your Quran, it's the Lord of Sirius. Well, what does the Lord of Sirius mean? Does it mean it's Sirius itself, or is it the protector of Sirius? And then what's Sirius? Well, then you can postulate perhaps Sirius being Sophia. And you get into the Egyptian aspects of it being Sopdet is the actual pronunciation. And I broke that all down in my Bloodline, but Sirius being 16. Is Sirius, are you serious? Yeah, I'm serious. Sirius could be the maker of this reality. The Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh could be Sirius, which is going to be tied to Yaldabaoth, the Lord of Sirius. So Yaldabaoth, the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh, all start with the letter Y. Pretty simple. Demiurge, Jehovah, it's all the same thing, folks. Really isn't no difference. And then we can get into Back to the Future and 88 miles an hour. See, if you take 16 digits into the string of the golden ratio, look at what it equals. 88. And then you can also bring in Ra. Is Ra Sirius? Is the Egyptian sun god Ra, is it just Sirius? Could be. It really, really could be. But this right here, they needed a bolt of lightning in the first one. 1.21 gigawatts. There's the bolt of lightning on the card again, and there's the 88. And notice the last two digits is 94, and that's because if you go look at the flux capacitor, it's got this plutonium on it. You know what the 94th element is on the periodic table? Plutonium. That's why it's right there. So did they know this? Well, you would think so. That's pretty obvious when you decode it. But then you get this right here, this big clue. This is radon, and it says reset. Radon, the son of the morning, tied to Lucifer here. And then, we also get the flux capacitor. There's the letter Y. It's right there. Some of you may have gone to Yale University. Yale uses the letter Y as their logo. And if you take the 88 and you bring it to the 88 protons of radium, you spell out the word ray, 226 and 88.906 is going to give you 314, which is pi. Okay, so this ray of light comes down through the golden ratio into the string of pi, and it makes up the perfect circle, which is Earth. Okay, flat, round, they all work. They all have merit. There is a globe because there's a firmament that goes around the Earth, and there's your globe. So those of you that are like so stuck on the flat earth, but you haven't even taken into consideration what's surrounding the earth that makes up the globe, all these systems have merit. You just got to let go of all these, like, well, my way is the only way. Well, not really, because they all fit. But anyway, then we're gonna get into some Lucifer. We're gonna get into some Lucifer and the scripture here. Again, the scripture talking about the Spirit of God moving upon the face of the waters. And this equals 16. And 16 in the cards of illumination is this card called the Three of Clubs. And why I have Thomas John Ellis here, who they casted to play Lucifer, the hit show on Netflix, is because he was born on November 17th, and this is his birth card. This is his birth card. So what do you think the odds would be that his birth card, it matches the scripture in Genesis talking about let there be light? And Lucifer is known as the light bringer. I mean, hello. I mean, do we have to kind of really go anywhere else at this point? Or are we just going to continue to stay stuck in some preconceived notions of, what we were programmed, what we're regurgitating? We have to take everything into consideration here. I'm not saying it's absolute, but... And this Three of Clubs turns into the Three of Wands, so now we get the picture. The Spirit of God moves upon the face of the waters, and when it gets down to earth, it now has to launch its long-term plans. That's exactly what this is. Light. Now it says, okay, I'm down here on earth, I'm a carbon-based being, and now I have to launch my long-term plans. That's what this means. And 3 is the Trinity. 3 is lithium, the brain. Okay? The brain. It affects your brain. A little voice in your head that owns you. And then this is super fascinating here. We bring some more alchemy into this. So, the 16th element on the periodic table is sulfur. Sulfur is tied to Sodom and Gomorrah, right? Raining sulfur. And it's tied to Lucifer. Sulfur is the S. The S is the 19th letter. 19 is tied to spirit, the spirit in the sky. There's the electromagnetic wave as well. But then you take the 31, this is most abundant. The average is 32, but the most abundant is 31, and you can bring it right into this element called gallium. And the icon the Royal Society of Chemistry uses is the rooster. And that's why I got the picture. Like, what is a rooster known for? The rooster will tell you when the sun starts to come up, the sunrise, the sun of the morning, the dawn period. And who is known as the son of the morning? This guy right here. The son of the morning star. And the rooster tells you about it. The rooster blows its horn in the morning time when first light comes up. When first light comes at you, however you want to look at it. But these are all clues telling you. And the rooster in the Chinese, it's going to be tied to Kronos, Saturn, Satan, Father Time. Time is represented by light and dark. All right, so let's get into the last topic now, ladies and gentlemen. Let there be light. Let there be light. Whew, okay, so here's some brightness for you. So here, now we get into Genesis 1 verses 3. And we get one digit extra. We go from 16 to 17. And the 17 is a very big one because we're going to be tied to the 56 once again. I'm going to get to that 17, trust me. But God said, let there be light. Let there be light. And what happens when there's light? There's a dielectric pulse. And then you get the electromagnetic wave following behind it, forming the yin-yang, forming the kundalini inside your body. And now you get into the chakras, which we're going to show in a little bit here. But this forms the movie. Once God said, let there be light, we now have a movie. And now it wants to come down and play out its game. I mean, all these mythologies talking, Jupiter coming down, becoming this, becoming that. You get the fallen angel story in there. There's all these stories about spirit coming down into physical matter. I don't know why it has to be so evil. But nonetheless, here it is, 56, playing out the movie. And we're all the little jokers down here, the fools. So I got a picture of that. Great movie by Joaquin Phoenix. But here's the connection with the tarot, the 17 now. Genesis 1 verse 3, let there be light. And so when there's the light, its spirit moves into, remember this is into, and then matter. And we become the stars. And now we're walking on water, the pulse, and we become the stars from the heavens. 17th card, and we're all star, rock star, movie star. Are you a star? Most people on the world stage are not stars. They are extras in somebody else's movie. They're okay with that though. They just consume things. They're not interested in creating anything or becoming anything more. They're just taking up space. How about you? Are you the star in your own movie? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, when you bring it into the chakras now we get into, more Hindu. I don't consider Hinduism a religion, but it's one of my favorites I lean towards because it's just so beautiful with the divas and the asuras and, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and then the chakras and all that stuff. I'm just a big fan of all this stuff. But here is the 17, and it's the 7th prime number, and then you instantly and automatically tie into the chakras, the 7 chakras. And this has so much merit because if you take 17 and 7, all of you that are decoders, when you get a prime number, you should add these two numbers together and see what you can go beyond just this. 17 plus 7 is 24, and just like that, bam, we get chromium. And chromium comes from the Greek word chroma, which means color. So this is light. God said, let there be light. And the light moved upon the faces of the water. And then it moves into the body, which the body's made up of water. And so we're color slowed down into physical matter. Chromium. I mean, if you go look at chromium on the periodic table, look at the picture that's used for this element right here. It's a skull with wings. Telling you you're going to die right there. The Greek word chroma meaning color. It's light slowed down to become carbon-based, physical matter right there. This is what this means right there. It's beautiful, this whole source code. And so really it kind of comes down to this right here. I got a couple more slides left. So we know 17 is the 7th prime number. We know we have 7 chakras. 17 plus 7 is 24, and we get into chromium. 24 tied to the X chromosomes. And we get into this card right here, the 2 of Wands. So when you come down here into this reality, and wands are going to represent, in the cards of illumination, they're going to represent air and thinking. But in the tarot, they're going to represent the first. But nonetheless, they're all going to be the same thing when you look at the concepts of this, because this means you having the world in the palm of your hands. It's light coming down here, becoming and part of the movie. And now you have the world in the palm of your hands, and you're like, okay, what am I going to do? And these 2 pillars, this represents the sun and the moon, the Ark of the Covenant, the Boaz and Yachin, if you want to go that far. This is the sun and the moon, the Ark of the Covenant, which provides the light. And now we have the world in the palm of our hands where light slowed down into chromium. And we're going to face death at one point, which is why I had that skull with wings. And so we even go further. Chromium having a weight of 51. We go in, now it leads to this element. Remember what a bolt of lightning was? 1.21 gigawatts. It's right there. Yeah, it's light slowed down into physical matter, and we end up at this card right here. The Ace of Swords, which is the Ace of Spades. The infamous, notorious Ace of Spades. The Ace of Swords, which means victory. And this 51 in antimony, if you've been paying attention, what is antimony? Antimony is the all-seeing eye. See, once you become carbon-based, once you become a man or woman, you now have an implant in your brain, and it's your brain itself. It's the all-seeing eye in your brain. If you cut your brain in half, you're going to see this there. And this right here is going to be the thalamus, the egg inside your brain. And you get the pineal gland. There's so many moving parts to this. But this is antimony. They used to put antimony sulfide under their eyes. The black for makeup in the Egyptian times. If you go read the history of this, antimony means anti-monos, meaning not alone. That's what this it comes from. Not alone. Well, what do you think you're not alone from? The Spirit of God. That's what you're not alone from that. The voice in your head is the Spirit of God, and that owns you. You don't own that. You're probably like me. I have tons of conversations all the time with it, like it's really in the room. But this is where it ends up at, and this is the implant in your brain, and it leads to the ace of spades. And it really comes down to this right here, which I decoded. One of my favorites. And you know, is this show and movie? It came out in 1973. 1973 is the 21st prime number, 21 is the world card in the tarot. 40 means death and regeneration. This whole movie, the show was about the implant in your brain. They tell it, is this where we're finally coming to? Where you'll know you have an implant. Like this is now you know it. Now there's no guessing. Now it's official. With the way we're moving into the age of Aquarius. It will be official. See, in the Piscean age, nobody knew that. Well, now you can start to see with this methodology that I use and many other of you great decoders use. Will this be the full disclosure? Is that you have an implant in your brain. You ain't under control. It doesn't matter. Even if we move through AI, it does not matter, folks. It's just you're moving into a different age. It's not going to be any different. It's just going to be a different set of circumstances. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So that's a wrap for this Ride the Light Decoded. What did you see? I'd be really interested to hear what you saw. Just keep your comments cordial, but keep your comments coming. Let me know what your thoughts are, what you saw. This one was a lot of fun. I literally put this thing together in a few days, but I had a lot of fun doing it. So I hope you really enjoyed it, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks once again to all of you great decoders out there for your support, your subscriptions. I appreciate you, and I value your research. So that's all I got for today, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Logan. Decode your reality. Until next time, we will see you later.